Give me the link. Where's the link? Where's the link? Why don't you show me the doing link? Okay, so I'm just going to wait here until I get confirmation that people are on. Let me know if you're ready in the chat, please, so that I know if the person or anybody who is watching is here. Okay, cool. So all I've done is I've zoomed out all the stuff. Made sure it's all working. It had a few issues that I had to deal with. Basically nothing. So if we take a look at the source here, we've got a few stepping issues, and I'm not talking about the little blocks you can clearly see. I'm more talking about the change between frames here. So that's the issue that we're trying to deal with. In an ideal world, we could go to, if I go to my global animation settings and I turn off this integer frame range values, and I say 25.5, we should be seeing something between 26 and 25, but we're not. So the role of the substeps inside of here, the smoke sim, is supposed to get rid of that. And I'm going to quickly do a few frames just to show one thing off. So you're using the volume source, just bring in the density. You got the smoke stop. I did change this thing. You don't need to delay the frames if you're getting it by the if you're tracking by the object. It'll do that automatically for you. So I'm going to open up a new window here, and I'm going to go down to, might be on the wrong one here. I want to go down to Windows, and I want to look at the performance monitor here. And I'm just going to quickly reset it by just disabling and re-enabling a node. And I'm going to hit record, then I'm just going to do 50 frames. Let that play out quickly. And what's going to happen is the performance monitor is going to monitor all the nodes, and it's going to tell me which ones are performing the worst, which ones are taking their time, and so on. And if it's the node that I think it is, then that's affecting your speed issue, because I noticed that you tend to be taking a while simming out the frames. We can fix that. Hopefully. We're just going to have to wait a quick few seconds for that to sim. But if you've got any questions currently about general workflows, just pop them in the chat and I'll respond to them. Either here or in Discord or on the live stream. Also, if you can hear me, if you could let me know that you can all hear me, then that'd be great. So it seems to be running quite fast, which is pretty nice, to be honest. I'm happy with that speed personally. Although I haven't actually checked out what the division size is pretty good. So if we take a look at the this beautiful thing here, I'm going to hit stop, and so this is just going to give us a breakdown of all the nodes in our Houdini file, or the ones that were running at least. And we can see that it took like 1 minute and 50 seconds. If we open that up, we can see the biggest thing that took the time was our smoke solver. Then we had a few gas turbulences and a gas vortex confinement, which took 21 seconds overall out of the whole thing. So if we open that up again, we can see that we've got the projection, the advection, and the build collision masks. And this is what I thought was going to be the biggest speed issue here. And I'm only just touching on this because it's good performance. A way to help speed up your the iterations and such. So the build collision mask is, if we dive inside here, I have to find it. So I can probably instantly see it just by checking out this, because we've got like a red thing over here and a red thing over here. If we go inside here, we can see that it's making a collision mask from point velocity and so on. Just collision, making a collision field. This is what a static object is doing. It's making a collision field, and it's taking this object here from these two, the proxy volume and from the stop path, and it's making a collision out of it. We can speed this up quickly by laying down a volume source node, another one. So I'm just going to hit escape, hit back. I'm also going to write down the time quickly, which was 1 minute and 55 seconds, a bit over. And I'm going to wire this in. I'm going to select collision. That just helps. I'm going to jump back out, and I'm going to we've got an SDF here, which is exactly what I want. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it into my volume source here. Now this collision is already into a collision here, so surface is our collision, and vel is our velocity mask. So let's go back inside here and just fix those up. So the source volume is vel, and the target field is collision vel. Our surface volume is source volume is surface, and our target field that we're going to enter into is our collision. I don't need to worry about the ground because the ground is pretty well optimized, so I'm going to cut this out quickly. I'm going to bring this back. I'm going to hit record again, and you can see it's just gotten rid of all that stuff. I'm going to hit save quickly, stop, hit record again, and I'm just going to do 50 frames. And it should take quite a chunk out of sim time, I hope. Also, sorry if you hear people in the background, it's my family. And I'm just doing this just to show you how to speed this up, because when you start increasing the resolution, this really does help. I had a sim a while back that was taking an hour, about half an hour per 2 frames, and this cut it down to about like 5 minutes per frame. So it's just a simple little trick. Mendex is asking, am I keeping every stream? Yes, I'm not going to delete anything. I don't like to delete anything, really. The streams that I did do in the past, which were on Twitch, have been deleted because it's automatic. YouTube is not, I hope, doesn't delete the streams, so I'm going to be keeping every single stream I do. So you can always go back and look at it later. Get to see me fiddling around with all my issues and such. And so now that's about 1:30. It's got about 28 seconds from it, but again, it really does help. So, as you can see here, we're getting some stepping issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this. I'm going to times it by 1.5, just so that we're getting a little bit better. I mean, it's not going to be the best because we're still trying to figure out what's going on here, and we can probably do it even more. So we do actually have to go down I have to go up in our resolution so that we can actually see the stepping that's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit save first of all, and I'm going to cut out a portion of this that I want. I'm going to do that by going into my dot networks field here like that, and I'm going to lay down a bound just so that I can get the correct values in at the right time. So I know that these should be roughly the same. They're not quite, but they're about roughly the same. So I'm going to put down a time shift. I'm going to stop it there. like so. I'm going to place my bound, reference it, so that I can actually see it properly. And I'm going to be just sectioning off the portion that I want it to be. So I'm going to go top view, and one of these is the one I want. So I'm going to take out this one, and take out a bit of this one as well. And my lower padding, let me see here. So I can probably cut out majority of that there as well. And let's see how much does it actually come out of it. Quite a bit. So I'm going to raise up this a little bit, just by that much. And what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to grab these parameters here, and I'm going to say clamp to manual. So I'm going to paste those values in, like so, and they're going to be wrong. I know that much. So what I can actually do is I can say null out of bounds cut, like so. I can copy that. I can then, if I add in a spare input, I can chuck that into there. So now I'm referencing this node out here. This is just a quick way of me doing this. And I can then say VBox -1 for the spare input, and then the X size, like so, the Y size, and the Z size. And then I'm going to have to make sure it's centered properly, so I'm going to say centroid -1 dx, the underscore x I suppose, sorry, dy, and then dz. And so that's just going to cut it out so that it's not going to simulate the entire thing, and I can actually lower this down. So I'm going to say 1, so that we're back to the original size here. Hit save. And you can see the massive amount of steps that's going on currently. To be honest, this doesn't look too bad, but it's the changes in between these two is quite drastic. So I'm going to go even lower. And what we're seeing here, we can see it properly here now. So see this segment here, and how this part here, I'm hoping it's coming up on the stream too, this part here is much brighter or more dense than this part here. This is to do with the substeps, and the substeps are basically going to take a frame in between the incoming source sort of thing. So it's going to say 14 and 14.5, and that's a substep. We can use this by going to in advanced, and we have max, min and max, and we have a CFL condition. And I do forget what this is, really. Basically, this really just holds on to whether it's going to be using how much it's going to use the max and how much it's going to use the min. So before this, what I'm going to do is we have a few things here that we can use. So distribution, this is for HQ, we don't need to worry about that. Clear fields, that's for something else entirely. If you ever go into the Pyro workshops, which I don't know currently are running because they've all changed since I did it. The theory hasn't changed or anything like that, but I don't know which one's running anymore. The collision field, so that's what this is, kind of, if that makes sense. It's got like the fields to correct, so if they're inside these objects, it'll correct around them. Then we have advection and we have projection. These are the two things that we want to deal with. So we've got PCG and multigrid, and really you should just do your own studies. So like just do one sim with this one sim with the other one. Then we have the iterations. This just means just how accurate these are going to be. This projection method is. Projection method is not the same as advection method. I just want to make that clear. I forget what projection, how it differs from advection, but it does. So all I know is that multi-grid is best used if you have really fast moving collisions. Then you normally would use PCG, but that's where this thing comes in. This collision SDF comes in. Otherwise, this will using this and this together is what you would normally use. So I'm going to take that back to multi-grid. And advection. Advection is so you got three different types of advection. You got single stage, BFECC, and modified. So these are just different ways of calculating the how it advects. So single stage is the most basic and rarely ever used. Modified is the fastest. So single stage is the fastest, but it's rarely used because it doesn't give very good results. Modified is the most commonly used, and this gives us pretty good results and very fast results as well. And BFECC is very accurate, but it is a bit slower. So I'm going to quickly change these both to BFECC. And in the clamp values, so you've got like different ones. So this is just a correction value. So if it's like if it goes to -1, I believe it'll revert back to just 1. So I'm going to go to clamp. I'm just going to clamp both these values. Then you have the different type of tracing methods, and I believe these two are the slowest and the most accurate. But I'm going to keep it on to trace. That's what I tend to use. I'm going to sim that out quickly, and we're going to see if that made any changes to it whatsoever. Because these are just advection types, and they're very good, but I believe we just have to up the max substeps really, and that's really going to affect the overall sim time. So basically, if it takes a minute to do 50 frames, and you increase the max substeps, then you're basically timesing it by 2. So we're still getting a few weird things here, but that's due to just how it's running. We're also getting the shading here, which we want to get rid of. So let's up the max substeps to about 3, and 3 is 10, tends to be what I normally go for when I'm starting out. You want to be very careful with this value too. You don't want to put it to like 20, otherwise your computer's just not going to handle it. And you can see it's going substep 0.65, 7.8, stuff like that, and it's still on frame 17 here. That's frame 18, and it's taking considerably a lot longer to simulate. The idea is that if I load up Paint, because Photoshop has run out of its usage. So if we take a sphere, yeah, it's a sphere, deal with it, and we have the sphere just moving through the air like that. This is frame 1, this is frame 2. And this has to do with motion blur as well. So if you just looked at the reason we have motion blur we put motion blur in post-processing and stuff like that, is because you could easily everything in the world has a bit of motion blur, just a tiny amount, and it just blurs the edges a little bit together. And it also has a bit of stretching, so it should be something like that in animation at least. So if the ball is going from there to there, it should stretch, it should squash and stretch out properly. So if I go back to here, as you can see, we're still getting this weird issue here. And because we're getting that, we know that what's happening here is it could either be the fact it's just reverting to the minimum, or it's the incoming source. It's probably going to be our incoming source, so I'm just going to do one more check, and I'm going to put this up to 3 as well. Hit stop and do 25 frames while I continue explaining this. This is squash and stretch, which is an animation term. I think there's like 25 rules in animation or more, and this is one of them. And in simulating, if we have a particle go from point A to point B here in the space of 1 frame, then that's an insane amount of speed. And so if we have like a velocity vector going, it's going like that basically. But it's going that way, and the velocity vector is going to be a magnitude of from there to there, sort of thing. normally simulations can have trouble when it comes to dealing with this sort of thing, and it's trying to, if you're doing it like 1 frame a second, then it's going to be taking this frame and then taking this frame, and it's going to have a real hard time interpolating between this frame overall. So you could have like a point end up over here, then over here, but there's no smoke trail in between. And so what this comes down to then is how good either A, your source is, or how many substeps you do. So, this also comes in with substeps as well. So we're seeing here a lot of substepping. I mean, like a lot of stepping here. So that definitely has to do with our source. So we're going to have to change the source a bit. So if we go back out to our volume wrangle here, and we have a trail node. And the trail node is, as you can see here, this is where our stepping is happening. Excuse me. And even though we're having like this add, which is then reinterpolating it, it's still moving across like 1 step at a time. So what I tend to do, what I tend to do here is I tend to just if I increase this, we're still not seeing any real thing happening. So what we have to do is we have to, I believe, load in a substeps, and this is going to take me a little bit to remember how to do it, because we have to cache this out as substeps. So I think that's debris, so that's not a part of what this is. So I think it's this one is what I want. And if I go into my RBD sim, we've got a maximum of like substeps here. And I'm going to put this up to about 4 substeps. And so what I want it to do, and I believe what's going to happen here is it's going to be mucking up with my overall thing here. I am first of all going to make a new object, so I'm going to say multi substep sim, like so. And on the $F thing here, I'm going to say $FF instead of $F. And what that's going to do is it's going to take the subframe module. So you can see it says 18. If I then go down and turn off integer, I can then say 18.5, and you can see that's now going to sim out a file that says 18.5. If I didn't have the FF there, it would just say 19 for some stupid reason. Oh, because it's rounding up. Sorry, my bad. One caveat of this is that I can't do FF like 4 sort of thing. It doesn't like it, which is really annoying to me. So if I go FF4 F, even then it doesn't work. If you don't know the F4, then F4 basically puts like 4 zeros, like it has a 4-digit number. I really do like that, but I'm going to have to do FF for this. And if I simulate out this many frames, and if I go to the folder that it's doing it to, and yes, I haven't actually changed where it should be going to. It's week 5, and if I start and I just save that out quickly, it's not. It is simming that out, but if we go down to here, we can see, we can see that it's not actually simming out the subframes. So what I have to do is I have to increase this up to 4 substeps, I believe, and then I believe I have to do something else. To read it in, there's a special trick to read it in, but I can't remember how you read it in. So I'm going to quickly just sim this out. As you can see, it's making frame 1.5, 1.25, 1.75. I don't know why that doesn't order itself properly, so like 1.25, then 1.5, 1.75, then 1. So 1 is the first one that should be going in, and then we've got 1.25, then 1.5, 1.75. It is really annoying, and it is something that I wish side effects would get on top of and actually produce properly, but they're not going to, because they've got other stuff to worry about, like, I don't know, making their flip sims better. Anyway, so even though we're not going to be reading that in though, I believe, so we are reading it in, which is nice. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to go back out to here, and we can see that it's got 8, 9. It's not reading that in, so I'm going to say $FF. I'm going to make sure it's going to the right one here. The right folder, that is, sorry. So now it should be getting the right ones, and you can see it's not doing it. So I'm going to say integer, that sort of thing, and I'm going to say 0. I don't know if it's going to let me do this, but I can't. No, I can't. That's annoying. I was hoping I could just put like 0.25. So I'm going to say 0.5. I mean 8.5 there, then 8.75, and we're reading that in as that. So now then, if I do the transform pieces, and if I do the trail, and if I just go to train 25, I should theoretically be able to decrease this by about, I don't know, 0.5 sort of thing. 0.5. And what it should do is it should now just interpolate between that sort of thing. So I'm going to say 0.25 because that's how many frames I did. If I recall quickly though, I'm just going to quickly just go back to 1 because I now want to match the length of what that was. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say 10 times, oops, I'm going to copy this, times it by that amount, which is going to be about 3. It's not what I want, but I just want to say 1 minus that, I believe. So if I then wrap that all up, it should, no it doesn't. Not too sure why it doesn't do that. But so I might have something wrong here. So basically I want to times that by 4. So that we get whatever that is there. There is a mathematical way of doing it, but I haven't finished watching the math class that Corbin put out, so I will probably have to get back to you on that. Then we do the usual thing there, and the good thing about this though is that we're now getting smoother interpolation between the frames. And I am going to load up integer frames again, like so. And I do actually want to output, I don't want to output all those frames, I believe. So I'm going to hit save the disk. And it's going to take a little bit longer now because it's reading in about 40 frames each frame, I believe. Which is what we want, really. And there is ways to make our own trail node, but that's something for another time maybe. But yes, so what I've done here is I've split, instead of making the solver figure out how many, what's going on between these frames here, I have literally told them saying like 1, 1, 1, and then these frames are going, this is what's happening between these frames here. So it should, theoretically, show me. It probably won't because I probably do need to actually say FF here, and I've just mistakenly done this. But that's why you know, these streams are supposed to help you out with, showing you that the TDs, or what do you call it, the TAs I believe, make errors and stuff like that, which I believe Saber kind of edits out in his videos and stuff, and a lot of people edit out in their videos as well, which is to be expected. They need to be short, they need to be punchy, they need to be concise. Okay, so we are still getting the stepping sort of thing, but it's very minimal. So now if I go like this, if I go like that, I can read that frame in, and I can now dive inside here. I can hit back. I'm going to hit save quickly, and I'm going to say do, whoops, I just said do the whole thing. Do 25 frames. It also took me a long time to figure out how to get the live chat thing in YouTube to work. Apparently I am not supposed to set it to child friendly, which was a bit weird because this is educational and I'm pretty sure it is child friendly. Go YouTube logic. And it's going to take its time because we're still doing minimum and maximum for substeps here. So I'm going to hit stop on that quickly. And we're still getting the issue. So we're going to go back out. And we're going to say $FF, like so. And I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit interrupt too because I want to then just put that into a folder of its own. It's good practice to put different sources and such in the sim folder in their own folder as well, so that way, and versioning it too. Otherwise, when you're handing it off to another person, it can be very easy to track down, and they can see what version you're on, and they can need to copy over those files. Truly stimulating content. So I'm going to go back up to here, hit stop, go to my smoke silver. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, to 2 I mean, and then I'm going to let it go for about 25 frames. And I'd say it's taking its time because of the my advection types that I changed. So I'm going to change them back when it's finished, just to keep the speed up. So we're not just sitting here watching me simulate out stuff. Okay. And we're still getting a bit of stepping, but that is a lot better than what it was, than what it used to be. So what we can then, another thing we can probably do, which I was getting it quite badly here too again, which we can probably do is, I'm going to stop that. I'm going to up this to be about 0.8 here. I'm going to revert these back to modified. Revert that back to revert. I'm going to turn this back to 1. Like so. Then up here in the smoke solver sim here, I'm going to set this up to about 4 substeps. I'm then going to say, yep, output that. And I'm not going to do frame 1 because I'm not going to do frame 0, I mean. So I'm just going to quickly save about 30 frames of that. And now it's going the difference between me putting the substeps there and in the smoke solver is well, there is a difference. I've got to remember this though. It's basically one of them is the main overall substep, so it's going to substep everything. The other one is just substeps on the overall solver itself. So this one may give us a better result than the min and max substeps inside the smoke solver, but I'm not going to cross my fingers on that. I believe we're also missing the fact that I didn't change the substeps here to about 4 like the other one should have been. So if I go down to here, to the wrong folder, and this will be why we tend to make folders. Otherwise we end up with something like this where we have no idea what's what, and it's a little hard to really get a gauge on where the heck one thing was simmed out, one thing it wasn't. So I'm going to stop it there. We're still getting quite drastic subframes here, so I'm just going to go back out to here, and this is actually going out to the geo network. I don't know why. That is rather annoying. And if we take a look, we can see that it actually hasn't outputted frames. So I'm going to hit delete on that. If I now go reload geometry, then it's not going to do anything. I'm going to set this up to about 4, and I'm going to save the disk. And now, as you can see, it's all being brought in here. I mean, there are ways around the $FF to make it use the substeps as well, but we're not going to get into that just yet. Okay, so that's done. Took us a lot of time, didn't it? I'm going to set this back down to 1 because I can. I'm going to set this to, I'm just going to keep it like that for now, and I'm going to say simulate out just 30 frames, and it should be quite nice and fast now because I'm not doing any sub-steps on the inside or on the actual dot network here. And to, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Marcel? Yes, basically you're going to have to go back to the initial RBD sim. You can do it using some techniques without actually having to go. If you have like a massive sim that you cannot resim, then there are special techniques using for each nodes, for loops, and solvers, like the SOP solver, to sorry, my mind just keeps going blank. To not have it to resim the RBD part of it if you've got like a massive RBD sim. This way it's just a bit cheaper, sort of thing. And we're still getting some issues there. So let's just take a look at this thing here, and let's go back 1 frame. So we shouldn't really be getting much of that issues. Let's go back up to here. Let's push that back up to 3. Now I have to hit stop as well, and let's resim that, and fingers crossed that it will actually. There is no sound. There was no sound. Sorry, I turned it off quickly. I'm hoping that it actually does work, because otherwise then I'm at a loss, because it should be working, and if it doesn't work then I have no idea why. Basically, because the main issue should therein be just the fact that it's not, that the subframes there aren't getting picked up, which would be very weird indeed. It's taking its time because it has to do the sub-steps inside the actual smoke sim itself. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to go into like the OD Force forums and take a look at some people's work to see what could be the issue there. And I am taking a quick look here, and basically what they're just saying is the fact that it is the sub-steps. So we're going to have to figure out what that is then. So let's load up the volume source node here, and we're still getting a rather bad amount of it there. But let's plug in our volume viz quickly, and I'm going to turn this down. Got 1. Do you have lights in your scene? You kind of do. So you got this one. So I'm going to turn this one on as well. Okay, I'm going to turn that off then. And I'm just going to make a quick distant light just so that I can see the volume. Press O. You dive inside here, and yeah, we're still getting pretty bad stepping. So a lot of people are saying to put the substeps up here. So let's do that. Really though, this should be working. It is pretty unclear as to why it's not. But let's also go into here and just see if we're missing anything here. We shouldn't be. So let's push this up to 4 frames to match the 4 that we've got up here. And let's do the 120 frame sim, essentially. Because it has to do about 120 frames overall. I'm going to quickly download a file from one of the OD Force forums to quickly check to see how they do it. If that doesn't help, then I'm going to have to stop here and I'm going to have to talk to Sabre about it, because I would be at a loss as to why it is not working. So I'm going to put this Houdini file over to the other side while I inspect it to see what they do. Quickly. Come on. Over here. A lovely error from the other file. Didn't notice that. If not, we're going to go through a different way of sourcing this sort of thing. It's going to be very similar, but just a different way of it. So keep that going. If it doesn't work, then yeah, I might even show it anyway, just so that people can see how it's done. It's like one viewer left because I'm so slow, or I just don't talk. So that's done now. As you can see here, we're now getting way less stepping. So yeah, we had to increase the substeps out here and not in here. So basically, to reiterate, the smoke solver is making its own substeps, but so the substeps that are just enclosed in everything in here, not to do with everything out here though. So it's going to substep these, the inputs, and it theoretically should be substepping these. I don't know why it's not, and it is truly baffling to me. However, I did say that I was going to show you how to do this a little bit better. So we've got this lovely little thing here, and we've got this coming out, and I'm just going to show you how to optimize this greatly. So first of all, what I'm going to do is we've got to transform pieces, and it's transforming the normals and the velocity, which is exactly what we want. What it's doing here is it's checking to see, hey, how fast is this moving? I want to do something similar, essentially. And if I turn on this, we can see that they all have normals attached to them, coming from the. This is just an extra thing now. So the solution for you was to turn up the substeps here, and yes, it's going to increase the time, but that's just the downside of making sims. So it's deleting the white points, deleting the black points, I should say. I want to do something very similar, and I'm going to show you quickly what that is. So I'm going to say attribute a point top, like so, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in a dot product. And a dot product, if I grab paint again, and if I just go control new, like that, and if we have, well, great, we have a graph, like so, it's certainly a graph, so I got this, and if we have a point coming out, say, straight up and down, sort of thing. Oh, come on. So straight up and down. So one here and one like that, and we've got a point coming out, say, about here. The dot product. So this is 1. This is going to be 0. Base. It's going to be 0. The dot product is. Wow, that's really small. Yep, there we go. 0. The dot product is going to say how much of this here is aligned to this one here. If it's aligned perfectly, it's going to be 1. If it's completely tangent to it, it's going to be 0. If it's completely opposite, it's going to be -1. So it's just going to be the negative, and it's going to be -0 over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tangent between the normal, and I'm just going to plug that out quickly. And if I just go to here, we can see that it's dot producting between the normal, whatever the normal facing is, and the up vector. As you can see, everything that is facing upwards is facing 1 is going to be given a value of 1. Now this is going from -1 to 1, so I'm going to fit range this quickly. So we've got -1 to 1, like so. It's just going to fill it in. So everything at the bottom is going to now be what's the word I'm looking for? Is now going to be black. And I'm going to be adding this into the thing, but what I want to do is I want to say if along the vector trail, I want to say, is it facing the vector trail, basically? Then I want you to be white. If you're facing away from it, I want you to be black. So instead of doing vector between the normal and this one here, I'm going to plug it into the velocity here, like so. I'm then going to normalize both of them, because I don't want them to be unnormalized. As you can see, that did a few things there. Just fix it up a bit. And you can see that if it's facing away, sort of thing, it's going to be in that direction. I'm just going to invert this, like so. and I'm going to have this added to that there, and I'm going to say, hey, delete if it's facing towards it. I'm also going to quickly plug in a ramp. I'm just going to say 0 to 1 again, like that, and I can say yes. As you can see here, that's been facing away, so I'm just going to put it like that. So that way, only the points that are basically facing towards it are going to be given pieces of it, essentially. Okay, now that we've done that, what I can then do is, I'm just going to go to the other one because this one had some quite nice things in it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to trail it, and we're going to imagine this is only bringing in just the frames like that, and as you can see it's mucked up our trail node quite badly. So I'm going to bring in our trail node again, like so. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to set the 10, and the frame increment is going to be 1 again, so it's basically the same. I'm going to take, I'm going to put this over to the side, and what I'm then going to do is I'm going to add all those points together. So by ID it should be, or is that not what you did? But I put in the wrong thing. By ID like that. And now what I need to do is, we can see that it's quite, through each frame is quite jarring. So what I want to do now is, let me think here. I want to convert them because they're quite hard. So I want to convert this into these all into a NURBS curve. That's just going to give it a little bit more. Oh no, from type I want to convert to NURBS curve. Sorry, that's just going to make it smoother. For some reason, we're still getting polygons, which is a bit weird, because the child node should be giving us no polygons. That is giving us. Oh no, that's right. Yep, we should be getting polygons. My bad. We could change it to Bezier probably, but NURBS do tend to be better. But I'm going to go with Bezier curve for now to try and get rid of the degenerate polygons. Not going to happen, huh? I'm going to quickly blast out something so I can just see it in like section mode, like that. Delete. Why didn't that not copy over? Delete those. Then I can see what it's actually trying to add together, so we can see it's adding the trail there. The trail is suffering quite badly. Which is very strange why it's doing that. So let's see how we normally should trail it. So we've got a trail increment here. So I'm going very tangential. I'm very sorry. But hey, if somebody wants to watch this later on. So I'm going to put down a for each loop. I'm going to say by number, like so. Like that. And this is going to say fetch input. Fetch feedback. And this is going to be my merge. And I don't want feedback. I do actually want to merge it each iteration. Then I'm going to put down a time share. I think it's a time shift, like so. I'm going to add a spare input. I'm going to bring in the metadata here. I'm going to say $f minus the detail -1 for the spare input, the iteration count, and 0 for the first input. And ideally, what that should do is it should just time shift it each time. acting a little weird here. There we go. Okay, I had it wrong. My bad. So now it is doing basically the same thing as this child node should do. If I turn that blast off, it's doing the exact same thing. You didn't see any change there at all. To get subframes, what we can do here is, instead of time shift, I can do time blend. Oops, nope, wrong thing. Time, I think it's time blend or time thing. So we don't want to do this, we want to say by frame. I have a feeling this is going to not work too well. So I want to say, and it's doing some interpolation sort of thing here. So if I then plug in this again, add sphere input minus the detail, -1, iteration by 0 sort of thing, we're going to get the same thing as we had with this one. But what I want to do here is I want to interpolate it by half. So if I then say times by 0.5, ideally it should now be interpolating it properly. And it technically is. So I'm going to say 0.25 sort of thing, and then I can say, yep, raise it to about 40 frames, and that's giving us very smooth results sort of thing. And it's a time blend, and the time blend does like to interpolate. We can use the velocity to interpolate as well, which could or I don't know, it may be a good idea. I am not too sure, because I haven't played with the time blend that much, and we cannot compile this because it's got that thing there, which is just a time sensitive thing, so we don't need it too much, like so. Okay, so then what I like to do is I then like to convert. I like to do this whole thing really, where I add and then I do a convert to it as well, like so. And this is basically what I like to do, but I am also going to do quickly a UV sort of thing here, and I'm going to show you a quick setup that I did beforehand, and it seems to be copied over into this setup as well for some reason. As you can see, we're getting some weird issues here, which if I go back a frame, not too sure why those are happening like that. So let's go all the way. Yep, not too sure why those are happening, but that's fine. So what I then like to do is I'm going to convert this back into polygons so that I can properly deal with it. So I'm going to say polygons. If I go into here, we should have no polygons in this one here. We still do have polygons, which is really weird. So I'm going to do a group just to group the polygons, please, maybe. Just going to group them all. Brilliant. I really would like to know why it's doing that. So let's try and if I do another for each node, for each if I do an add here, and then I do for each connected point piece, and we don't even need to do this, we can just say by ID and on the points sort of thing. And oops, and then I'm going to put the add in there, so that's going to add them all together for me. I can then convert it, let it cook, and we're still getting some degenerate points. Okay, I give up then. Trying to figure that out. Anyway, so I'm going to convert it back. I'm going to set this back to about 0.5, so we're not getting as many of them. I'm going to set it back to 20, just so we have less points. Then I tend to do a for each connected piece now, and I do use the connected piece because I can't just use the points now. That's going to go through all the things, all of them for me, all the primitives, polygons at least, and we're getting that. I'm going to push this out. I'm going to delete those, just to keep it concise. And then I'm going to use the UV texture, and the reason I do this in a for each is because the UV texture can muck up at times. So with this UV texture, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say arc-length spline. Actually no, I don't even need to use this, so I'm going to say attribute wrangle, like so. And in this attribute wrangle, I'm going to set the size. So this is going to be size set, and I'm going to visualize it with let's get a better one, maybe. Let's get that one. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do size set. I'm going to say float f, or uv really. I'm just going to say u. It's going to be the float of at point number divided by the float of the at number of points minus 1. And that's going to give us a gradient between 0 and 1. So if I go at CD equals u, we now have a gradient from there to there. If we take a look at the spreadsheets, 0 to 1. There we go. And I do want to just switch this around, so I'm going to say, I think it's -1 by 1, like that, and it's just going to swap it for us. I mean 1 minus the value. So that's going to be, that's just, all I've done is swap it. So I'm going to say u equals that. And now what I want to do is I can either make a trail node, or I can make my own version of a what this is doing, basically what this volume rasterize is doing. And it's not recommended you really do this because this can take a bit of time to do. But I'm going to try two ways. The first way is going to be by using this. So I'm going to say poly wire. And this poly wire is just going to make a little poly wire for me. And it's copying over the normals. So I'm going to say attribute delete because I don't want those anymore. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete the color. I'm going to delete the texture. I'm going to delete the area, and I don't need the ID anymore either. I do have a neither class. There we go. These don't need to be like with any divisions really, so I'm just going to set this back to from 4 to 6 just so they're a bit smoother. And I want to drive the width, so I'm going to say at width, and that's not going to have any effect on it. So I'm going to say attribute delete. I want to delete the width, like so. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to say f at width equals channel float between channel float minimum and channel float maximum, and by the ramp. Haven't made the ramp yet, so let's make the ramp. So ramp float is ramp equals channel ramp called by ramp. Sorry, ramp by the u. I would explain it, but so I'm going to set this to about. Let me see here. What would be a good value? No idea. So I'm going to set this to about 0.05, just so it's a tiny amount, and by that. And now, if I now run it, it's going to take a little while to do because I cannot make little things for it. But now it's giving me all these little Y's, like so. And now what I can then do is, so we still have velocity. We should still have velocity here. Let's just quickly check. Wrong thing. Yep, we still have velocity there, like so. So then what I can then do is I can just put down a VDB for polygons. That's going to take us a little time, and it's just merging them nice together. I'm going to set 0.03. Going to let that cook quickly. I'm going to turn off the surface. I'm going to add a surface attribute here. Let it cook. I'm going to say fill interior, so I want to have it filled, and there is differences between if you have it filled or not. I'm going to say point V for the velocity. I'm going to hit stop. I'm just going to hit, come on. I'm going to go from auto update to manual, and it's frozen. Hooray! I love it when that happens. It's probably going to crash. My computer's crashed. And I don't know why. My memory just shot up. So I'm going to hit manual. I'm going to say 0.5. Hit the bell. Hopefully it's still streaming. It's saying it's not. So we're seeing that there. I'm then going to turn on density. Then I'm going to copy this over here. Yes, one to there. Main smoke custom. And I'm just going to say F4 because I don't need the subframes. I'll probably actually do. No, I don't need the subframes just yet. Let's turn to 1. I'm hoping that it's still receiving the video. But let's just kick it off and hope that it doesn't kill itself. And the thing that's going to take the most amount of time is this polywire thing here, so I'm going to stop that because this part is taking too long. It's this part here, so I want to make this one faster. As you can see, it's taking its time. So what I'm going to do is, instead of a polywire, so I don't need that, I'm going to say grab this, I'm going to set it back to whatever that was there, just to single pass it. I'm going to lay down a circle here. I'm going to copy 2 points like so, or copy to curves actually. Is there a copy to curves? I had not noticed that, but let's try that quickly. That's quite nice. I didn't know it could do that. Didn't know of that really. And instead of width, I'm going to say p-scale. So I'm going to set it to polygon. I'm going to set the divisions to about 6, which is what they were beforehand. I'm then going to do, oh, what was it called? I cannot remember what this node was called. It's basically just connecting them all together. And I can never remember what this node was called. I think it might have been a sweep. I doubt it though. It wasn't a sweep, nope. It was the skin. So I want to add in the skin here. And there we get that. Lovely looking thing. And I think it's, no, it hasn't added its own normals, that's nice. Let's quickly take a look to see if we can actually skin it in here though. No, we cannot. That's fine. So we skin it, and then we have to do a poly fill over all the geometry here, just so that it can do it. I'm going to say single polygon because I don't actually care what it looks like. Now, if I quickly stop that and I go turn that on, we can see it's still taking its time because it has to copy over each one, and stream really is not going too strongly, is it? And we're having some issues here, as we can see here. So what I need to do is, instead of this copy to curves, so I'm going to say copy to points, like so. I'm going to lay down the polyframe node, and I'm going to say n to the tangent name, and then I want to delete the tangent. Delete that as well. It's going to give us something weird. We can also scale it by the length if we'd like to. I'm not going to just yet though. Let's just see how fast that goes. It's still pretty slow. However, because I've gotten rid of the other node, I should, theoretically, we can see that these are really tiny and not really contributing too much. So I am going to actually do a length thing. So I'm going to say measure. Oh, is there a? Does the resample node have a length on it? It does. It has a length on it like that. So if I turn that on, we can see it's going to resample it, which isn't what I wanted to do. So I'm going to turn off this thing here, and I'm just going to say put out the distance, and I'm going to scale that. So f at p scale times by the p dist. I think it was p dist, was it? Point distance, which is going to scale them in more of like an angle, because it's going to take the distance between all the points, which if I actually resampled it, you'd notice that they were going to be the same length, almost. And we could just get like the overall distance, but we don't really need that just yet. So if I go and do the for each again, it's still taking its time, but now what we can finally do is we can bring in the compile node. So I'm going to set this here to a maximum iterations of about 500. As you can see, they're now really tiny, these things, so it's not quite giving us what we want. So with our point distance, as you can see, we've got a distance between 0, 0, 0, 0, like that. So I actually want to add them all up. So I'm going to say attribute wrangle here, because they've all got differing distances, and I just want to add them all up together. So I'm going to do this over the point of the detail. I'm going to say for, this is a for each loop, for loop. So for int I equals 0. I'm going to explain it very quickly. This one is the iteration number. Basically, it's a coded version of this. I'm going to say if II is less than the number of points that are coming in, and II++. So this is saying every frame, every iteration, just add 1. And now what I want to do is I'm going to say float p dist, like so, is going to be 0. And I'm going to say get float in dist is going to be the point 0 for the first input, point dist for the attribute name here, and then the current point number, which is the iteration number. Then I'm going to say p dist plus equals in dist, like so. And then what I can do is I can say set point attribute for each of them. Again, I can say set point attribute point, so it's going to be called the point dist again, so I'm just overwriting the original one after I've gone through each one of them and added them all together. Oh no, the first value should be 0 for the 0th input. Don't know why it isn't anything like that, if it's like 1 or anything like that, but it is. I then say II for the current point I want to add it to. I'm going to say pdist is the value, which is what we've got up here. I'm then going to say set. As you can see, now we've got the value of that. And now we've got this sort of thing, and we have to rescale this by the size. So I'm going to say another channel ramp between ramp size by the fit range of channel float size min, channel float size max between 0 and 1, because the channel ramp goes between 0 and 1. Set that back up. Not going to see any size differences here. I'm going to set the max size. Max size is going to be 4, sort of thing. And as you can see, it's not really changing some of these things. I'm going to set it to maybe about 7 then. So now it is changing quite a few things. And now, finally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into a compile node. So I'm going to type in compile, this compile block, bring this out, and this is basically going to multi-thread it. I'm going to turn on multi-thread. It's not going to do anything here. I'm going to plug these in here. Oh, my stream is finally healthy again. I have to add in, have to duplicate this node here, plug it in like that, and this is going to be fetching the input. Finally, I then have to add another compile block and just put it there. As you can see, it's now taken the circle out of the thing. If I turn that off, well, even if I turn it off, it's not going to make a difference. But now that I've put the multi-thread on and I've put these all in compile blocks, what should happen? No match for n for some reason. That's fine. This is just the attribute delete here, saying there's no attribute n going on whatsoever, but I do want to get rid of the pdist as well. So the polyframe is going to add n to that, and I believe the copying is going to not copy over the end, which is nice, so I can actually get rid of the end here. I'm also going to get rid of p-scale, so I know that's what's coming out. So now we've just got p and velocity, and the velocity is sticking to it. And now, if I turn this max iterations off, we're not going to see anything, and then all of a sudden it's just done. That's what the compiler does, and I love it. I love it so much. So I'm going to set this back up, and I'm going to hit save to disk. So now the hard part it's going to have to deal with now every time is going to be this VDB from polygons. So it's not wasting time going through the for each node each time now. It's just going to take time reading through the VDB from polygons. And even then, we really could see which ones are closest together, and then oh, my train of thought keeps disappearing. We can see which ones are close together, and we can group those together, and we can then make a VDB from polygons through that, and then if we really need to, we can merge them all together. Okay. Cool. So this is just extra steps that I'm just going through. Marcel, yeah, that your solution was just to up the sub steps for each one of them. This is just now me going through and showing more complex ways of doing this. I'm probably going to stop this because this is still taking its time, and I'm going to see about making another way. Hit stop on that, and I'm going to lay down a. So what I'm going to do is I'm then going to do VDB from polygons again, except this time I'm going to let it convex them. very quickly. It's going to convex them. I'm going to put the scale up so it's quite fast. And the reason it's taking its time is because there are really tiny pieces in there now. We could actually fix this issue, and I'm going to show you how in a minute. This is just so that this is just me trying something very quickly. I'm going to turn this down. I'm going to turn this down as well. Hit stop. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to do VDB from polygons. Whoops, no, wrong bad. I'm going to do VDB convert. I'm going to put this to the side, plug this in. I want to convert this into a polygon, and it's not going to be pretty at all, really, because of this. So I'm going to put this back to 2, maybe. So we can see something. Yeah, that'll really do, I suppose. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it, and I'm actually going to put down a connectivity class here. So I'm going to say what's connected to each other. I'm going to measure it by the class element here. So each one will now have their own area. And then what I can do is I can say, put down a blast node here, and I can say primitives at area is greater than 2, I believe, 5, and then I can just invert that back down to 1, and so now I'm just getting the larger pieces, not the really tiny pieces here. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to do a for each primitive, because I've already got the connectivity there. I'm going to say by piece attribute class, it's going to do the 55 of them, and I'm just going to say bound. Like that. That's just going to be a few bounds. I'm just going to do the minimums. I'm just going to add padding of 1 to each of them, each size. And I have no idea if this is going to work or not. So I'm going to do a VDB. I'm going to say VDB activate. I'm going to say reference. I'm going to chuck that in there. And I'm just going to say don't put the value in. And now if I do VDB tree, no, it's just completely filling it. That's really annoying. Okay. Fair enough. So what I can do then is for this thing here, I can plug this in here. I can plug this in here like that, do VDB activate, and if I go out, now we're going to see a whole heap of VDBs, and if I do VDB tree, we're going to see they're all filled or something. I'm going to do VDB combine. If we go like that, then I really just want combine. I just want to flatten them all, really. Together. So it's just one big volume, but now only these parts are active, which is exactly what I want. So it does work. Cool. Now what I want to do is, now that I've got that working, I can then say go to my volume wrangle, and I'm going to go up here. And this is going to be some nice bit of X, which I'm going to copy directly from the fluid source node, which uses VOPs, admittedly, but I want to use the Vex node because I like it that way. So we've got two ways of doing it. We can create an absolute SDF or a shell around it, which is what I'm going to be doing. So first thing what we want to do is we want to do a PC open. So int PC is PC open. PC open is like a point cloud. I'm going to say 1 because this is it's going to get points from here. I'm going to say P as second input, attribute P for the current position of the voxel, and then we have like the radius and we have the number of points. So I'm going to up the radius here, and I'm just going to set it to 10 points, like so. And I think I missed, nope, there we go. I'm going to set my radius about 0.1, just to keep it small. Now what I want to do is I want to filter them out. Filter out, I want to get the position. And I can't just say I can't just use the point. This is why we're using the point cloud. So I can't just say point 0 position because there's no point number that I can run over. So I'm going to say vector P is PC filter from the point cloud, which is the first input, and then I want to get the attribute of P, and that's all we get. And now we have every single one here. It's having trouble because it cannot find the name attribute of density, so I'm going to quickly name this density, and now that'll go away. Then we have an attribute of density here. And now what I want to do is I basically want to get the distance between those two. So I'm going to say float dist is equal to the distance between my attribute P and the P that's coming in, like so. So let's quickly visualize that. So I'm going to say f at density equals dist, and we can see that it's just making these really weird blocks. Not perfectly what I want. So what I believe I need to do is I need to gate this. So I'm going to say dist equals negative dist. And I might need to say -1 by dist, I believe. I think that's how it works, yeah. 1 by negative dist, I believe that's how you negate it. I'm not too sure, don't quote me on that. Because it could be something else entirely. And now what I need to do is I need to make the particle shell around it. So in the fluid source node, they do it in a different one. I'm going to keep on doing it in this. So I'm going to get rid of this, so it's not calculating everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 separate parameters, and I'm going to quickly explain what they are. So I'm going to say float edge location. Edge lock is going to be my edge location, so channel float edge location. This is the location of where the edge is going to be. The float edge thick is going to be my channel float of edge thickness. So this is just going to be how thick that edge is going to be. Then finally I'm going to have a float feather, which is going to be the feather of it. So I'm going to say feather. First things first, we just multiply the edge location and the edge thick into an edge. So I'm going to say edge equals edge location and edge thick. And the reason that we multiply them and we don't just say channel float times channel float is because we're still going to be using these two later on. Finally, what we want to do is we need to actually put this out to the density. What we're going to do is we're going to say f at density is equal to a fit range. So I'm going to say fit f at density between, and this is where we're going to be using attributes here. So I'm going to say between the edge and the edge plus a feather, and I think it's 1 and 0, like so. Now we're getting that. I'm going to open this back up, and I'm just going to put these two like default. So edge location should be about 0.5, edge thickness should be about 0.2, and a feather to be about 0.5. So the feeling I have mucked up my distance here, so I'm just going to put this back down to the 1. If that's not going to work, then I need to just swap these around. So 0 and 1. And I have a feeling something's gone wrong. So let's quickly take a look. No, that is correct. My bad. We shouldn't be getting the density, we should be getting the distance. We weren't even using the distance back then. So I'm just going to go back to here and I'm just going to invert it. By doing that, I'm going to uninvert it then. And now I can change my edge location, my edge thickness, and the feather behind it. I can also up the radius a little bit, so I can get a bit more, and I can then just change these values around. And we're going to see a few things that go wrong here in the fact that this VDB activate. So what I tend to do, instead of doing all that, is I tend to just say VDB activate this to the bound of this. And it's a bit slower. It's going to give us all the details though. Problem is now we've got this all filled up. So now all I need to do is lay down another VDB activate, disconnect everything, plug the first input to there, and I need to say deactivate. Now if we load up a true visualization, we can now see that only those parts have been activated. I can now chuck this out into here, and we are missing one thing. We are missing velocity. So I'm going to say add a second one, and this one's going to be very easy now. That's all I need to do, and I'm just going to go scatter quickly. Go to scatter onto the full thing here. I'm going to say scatter onto the density. I'm going to say volume trail because I want to visualize my velocity. Second input is going to be val. So it is a vector float. I'm going to increase this to about 0.25 just so that it's a bit faster. Say val, hit the density again, val. As we can see, we're not getting anything in here. So what I want to do is I can then actually just get the velocity from here. So I can say vector v, this will be v, and then I can say v at val equals v. And now we're getting the vector velocity from here. And the reason I just use this instead of doing all that is because I get everything that way. It is a bit slower, but it is more accurate. So then we have a VDB activate, and we can see that it's actually just activating everything like that. Cool. And now I can save this out, and it will be relatively fast. If we're doing a massive sim, then I would just instead use the other thing. Now you're going to notice one thing here though, is that we're not getting any trailing sort of thing going on, and we do want a bit of trailing. So first of all, I'm just going to use a visibility node here, and I want to hide velocity. I'm also going to upres this to about 0.05, which is really going to hurt it. We are seeing some stepping, but that's normal. But what I want to do is I want to bring in the scale, and what's happening here is it's actually just taking in this entire geometry here. I don't want it to do that. I just want it to bring in from here, because we're just using points, and it's just going to give us the points. Gonna let it think about that quickly, because it still has to activate all that, and we're still getting the same result. What I'm going to do though is I'm just going to quickly get rid of a few things, clean some stuff up, and I'm just going to move this out here. I'm then going to copy it, because I'm going to use it. And this time all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use these, the size and so on. So I'm just going to get rid of this, put this down here, plug this in, and I am actually going to resample a little bit, so I'm going to resample it down to 0.02. So now we have a lot more points that we can actually just take it from. Actually, I'm going to maybe raise it up a little bit. 0.1 was fine, I suppose. Yeah, 0.1 is fine for me. And now that's going to give us a size. And now, what I can do is I need to put the bound into there. Gavin is having some problems. I can't help you, I'm sorry. not right now. But I want to now scale this down, and we can do that by, I believe, the distance, or alternatively by the scale. So I can bring in the vector thing here like that. It's going to have a few issues with that, and we're going to get the p-scale out of here, which is what I want. So I'm going to say f at density times equals p-scale, and you're going to get the p-scale, and you are a float p-scale. And I might actually have to edit with the mess with the distance or the edge and the feather and stuff like that, but we'll see how we go. And now we're getting like a bit of a fall off there, but it's more of like a fade out. We don't really want that. We want to actually make it smaller as well. So what I can do is, and I think, am I changing the p-scale? I am. Cool. So what I can do instead of doing that is I can say p-scale into either here, I think. No, that's just adding the value of p-scale to it. Okay. So I'm going to change it back to 1, and it's going to be in here somewhere. So I'm going to say plus p-scale. It shouldn't be plus, it should be times, realistically. No rule change. I'm going to quickly make it faster by loading up this and just taking this right down to only be here. So now it'll be nice and fast, trying to calculate the that part of it. So I'm going to say times. That didn't really do anything, did it? Okay. So what I can do then is I can just say times p-scale. Still nothing happening. Am I even bringing in the p-scale from there? I really hope I am. This p-scale. I mean, I definitely am. So I'm going to say times p-scale. And because times happens before anything else, I'm going to wrap these up. And that's kind of done that to it. Let's negate the p-scale. Nothing. Okay. Probably had a bit of an odd times p-scale. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting very bad results now. So p-scale here. Basically, it's just trial and error to see where it should be going. And that should probably be inverted. Like so. And we're kind of getting something. Not really. Which is a little bit annoying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly figure out what the heck's going on. I'm putting down a line, I'm going to put it down in the X direction, I'm going to chuck in a whole heap of points, and they're going to copy this over. Like so. As you can see, that's not really helping, so I'm going to say 1. And now we're getting that. A small, insignificant looking thing there. And you can now see how the edge location, edge thickness sort of thing helps. So I'm going to put this right down to about 0.02 sort of thing. And now I'm going to make a p-scale out of this. So p-scale, like that. And because p-scale is coming in from the other side as well, I'm going to go here. And then I'm going to say 1 by 0. And now we're getting something. You can see that it's kind of changing this. So I'm going to say times p-scale here, not really changing the radius, which is a bit annoying. Bit annoying. So times p-scale. That doesn't help us either. So I have a feeling we're going to need to change the radius here, because that's kind of where it's at, if that makes sense. And it's going to create a blob in the middle, annoyingly, because I can't remember why it does that, but it does it for a very specific reason. It's just an annoying issue that we can get around, but I've forgotten how, so I'm not going to address it in this video. But what we want to do is we want to do a p-scale for the radius. So I'm going to make an int pc s for pc scale, pc open 1 p at p. I'm going to say 0.3, or actually I'm just going to chuck in this thing here, like so. And that's my PC radius. I can then get my PC scale, and it's going to be PCS, like so. And now, what I want to do is I want to say yes, use the P scale on that instead. And now we can see it's kind of dropping it off almost. And we're saying 0.1, so I'm going to say I want the max to be about 0.2. And we're still getting that weird issue because we're actually having a point in there. So what I want to do is I want to say remove 0.0 at pt num, and I believe I'm going to say if at pt num equals, no, that's not right. So it's 1 PC filter distance at p. So the okay, but that's going to work now over here, sort of thing. And we shouldn't have like a blob in the middle, I'm hoping. So I'm going to copy this, go back to here. I'm going to get rid of the p-scale on this thing. I am then going to copy, paste that into there. I'm going to delete this one. And now we can see we've got that. Going through it. I'm going to say the minimum scale wants to be 0.05 to escape 0.3. And so now that's going to give us a nice fall off between them all. Sort of thing. It's going to give us a nice little curve. And maybe even 0.2. There we go. I'm going to then turn off this, so that's going to full on to 1, and now it's going to take its time because it has to go over the entire scene and make a whole volume field of it, which is essentially what that does really. There's probably a way around this, so what I can do, and if we just zoom in quickly, we are getting a point there in the middle, sort of thing, which is a little annoying. But I am at a loss on how to actually fix that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the same thing that I had before, which, well, not that one, but over here, for this bound, I mean not this bound, for the other bound, where what I'm going to do though is I'm going to connect all the points that are closest together, sort of thing. So I'm going to say attribute wrangle here. I'm going to say int PC is PC, what is it, PC find, I believe, PC find 0, and this is going to find the closest points between me, everything like that. So I'm going to say 0 at P channel float, no wait, P at P channel float radius by max points, I think. So I'm just going to quickly Google this so that I know exactly what I'm doing. So I'm just going into the Google Docs. I mean, not the Google, the docs of it. So I do have to have a max points sort of thing set up. What this is going to do is it's going to give me a array. I'm going to set this to be about 200. And now that's going to be quite slow, but what this means is that I can now adjust this sort of thing. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to do an add first and delete all the geometry, so I don't really care about it. And then I'm going to say for each int point in the PC, so I'm going to grab every single point in that PC, I'm going to say add prim between 0, it's going to be a polyline, I'm going to do it between my current point and the current point that we're iterating over. That's going to take a long time because we're doing 200 points per each one, so I'm going to hit stop, I'm going to say just do 50. And even then, it's going to take its time because it has to go over every single point, which is kind of annoying. There are ways around. I have done a better video on this where I do a proper for each over everything. What that's currently done though is it's made it able for us to, this is just a whole densely packed geometry. We could just say connect adjacent points, which is what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to say adjacent points. So I'm going to up the search radius . And it's basically going to be doing the same thing. So I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to say adjacent pieces from points, like so. It needs a name. It's kind of stupid, so I'm going to say ID instead. Okay, so the ID has actually been gotten rid of here. Because that should actually be a primitive attribute, and even then it doesn't like it. Okay, let's quickly figure it out. like a smoother way than just to do like go over each points. Because it is quite tedious. Because there is heaps and heaps and heaps of points there. So maybe before the resample node here, I can plug it in. And even then, it's still taking its time. But I'm going to up this radius for about 3. And then I'm going to up this as well, 200, and that's going to almost kill this, unfortunately, which is why I used the VDB, the VDB from polygons last time. So I'm probably just going to go back to that instead. Hit stop. Hit stop. And this way I can just give them all a single thing. So instead of VDB from particles. I can say particle fluid, but I don't really need to. And that's just going to make that. I'm going to set the point scale down to 0.3, 0.1 here, maybe less, 0.1 there. And that's just going to give us essentially the same thing. And then what I can now do is I can say VDB from so VDB from, what is it? VDB convert to polygons, and then I do a class, just a for each connecting primitive. That's just going to give me the class down there as well. I noticed that quite a few things have gone wrong here. I can then add this together in here. So VDB plugs into there. We can see we've got a whole heap of different ones, like so. Plug that out, and oh come on, plug that out into here. And somebody who's having the issue here. I'm going to quickly call Gavin as well over to see if he wanted. Okay, I'm going to quickly just do a VDB combine, and I'm going to say add collecting all to A. I think it was what I wanted. Nope. Combine A. Nope. That should be it. Combine AB pairs. Nope. It's not copy A. Right, because it's got like 2 types, so I'm going to then split that. So I'm going to say if it's density sort of thing, then I'm going to split it out. So then I can do VDB combine, and I can just say copy A, add, really. And even here I don't need to do this, so I'm just going to hit stop. I'm going to go here like that, I'm going to put the point back to point 1. I'm going to say I don't want the velocity because I can remake that anyway. There we go, we've for eached it. That's a whole heap of VDBs there. I should theoretically be able to just flatten them now. Which is why with this thing here I can probably just put this back to 0.3 just to make them massive and large so that they all like join together and I don't have to do that many. So 415 goes down to 62. Cool. VDB combined. Now if I do a tree visualization, then not all of that is active. That's cool. Now plug that into there. And to get the velocity back, I'm going to put in I'm going to put a name down. I'm going to make that into a subnetwork. Plug this out. Plug this in, 1, 2, and 3. So actually I'm going to delete those, put down a merge. I'm going to put down an output node so that it knows to always use this as the output. So I'm going to say density into val.x, rename it val.y, rename it val.z, copy these two in here. We now have a free thing like that. I'm going to do VDB vector merge. Then we merge it all into it, and now we have a velocity coming out as well. And I'm just going to merge those two together, like so. And now we have a proper one, and then I can just deactivate it all one more time. We still do have proper velocity coming in, and we have the proper velocity tree as well as that, which is exactly what we want. So let's hit simulate. Let's take a look at other people's issues that are going on currently. Just going to quickly mute myself. just unmute myself quickly. But yeah, I'm just going to quickly just test this out, and then I'm going to go help another person. Very quickly. Okay, I'm going to duplicate that because I don't care. I'm going to say first input and second input because that way it'll be faster for me. Hit stop. First input, this one is going into, turn off that, and the tracking object is going to be my op input path, op input path, dot, I think it's 0, no it's 1, and now we're getting about, cool. Okay, I'm going to raise this up to about 1.2. I'm just going to hit go, and we'll see how. And I forgot to turn off this. See how that goes. I am absolutely freezing. It's suddenly gotten really cold over here, so I'll be right back. Okay, let's take a look at it. We're still in the subframe things, but I don't really mind about that right now because we sorted that out. Put down to 0.8 again, so it's the exact same whatever it was, and hit go. And I'm going to be helping another person out very soon, so I'm just going to quickly, oh that's quite nice, I need to install it. Hit stop, and we can see that it's working quite well, and I now have to go and help someone else, so and I can't do that live, I believe, so we'll get back to that soon. Okay, thank you for watching. This will be up for everyone to view. Yes, sorry if it got complicated at the end, but that's just me. I tend to go for a very advanced route. I'm very sorry about that. Okay, see ya.